In the small town of Milan, Ohio, on February 11, 1847, a boy named Thomas Alva Edison was born. No one could have guessed that this child, who would later be called slow from a young age, Thomas showed signs of curiosity that set him apart. He constantly asked questions, sometimes frustrating those around him. Why did things work the way they did? What caused certain reactions? His mind buzzed with endless thoughts. And even stupid by his teachers, would go on to become one of the greatest inventors the world had ever seen. Traditional learning didn't suit his active, questioning mind. He created a system that allowed him to print newspapers directly on the train, leading to the creation of the Grand Trunk Herald. This made him one of the first people to publish a newspaper from a moving train. His entrepreneurial spirit was evident even then. At just 12 years old, he began selling newspapers and snacks on trains to help support his family. But even during his work, he remained curious. He fixed a broken stock ticker in a brokerage office, impressing the owners. They offered him a job and financial support for his future inventions. With this support, Edison founded his first laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey, a place that would become known as the Invention Factory. Working late into the night, Edison continued learning and experimenting after his shifts, driven by a desire to understand how things worked and how they could be improved. A small fire started during one of his experiments, forcing the train conductor to throw his laboratory equipment out of the moving train. He rented a small workshop and soon developed his first patented invention, an electric vote recorder. Working day and night with his team, he aimed not only to invent, but to innovate constantly. He believed that genius was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. His life would soon prove how true that saying was. Unfortunately, this invention did not succeed commercially, but Edison was not discouraged. He believed that failures were simply steps toward success. Edison was devastated, but he did not let this stop him. He read books while traveling and even set up a small laboratory in the baggage car, where he experimented during free moments. Due to a severe ear infection combined with a childhood illness, Edison began losing his hearing. Eventually, he became almost completely deaf. Strangely, he considered this partial deafness a blessing. Without noise distractions, he could concentrate better on his work. His silence became his focus. His love for science was unstoppable. After only a few months, one of his teachers reportedly called him addled. Hurt by this label, his mother decided to teach him at home. She believed in his potential and encouraged his curious nature. This decision marked a turning point in his life. At home, Edison devoured books, taught himself history, science, and mechanics, and began performing simple experiments in the family's basement. Thomas was the youngest of 7 children. His father, Samuel Edison, worked odd jobs, while his mother, Nancy, was a school teacher. But school was not where Thomas flourished. As Thomas grew, so did his love for learning. One day, a tragic accident occurred in that train car. Around this time, another challenge changed his life forever. By his teenage years, Edison was not only experimenting, but also inventing small devices. At 16, he found work as a telegraph operator, a job that taught him about electrical systems, which would later play a huge role in his inventions. In his early 20s, Edison moved to Boston, where he spent his free hours in the public library, reading and studying. Eventually, he moved to New York City, where luck and hard work paid off. Here, Edison's true journey as an inventor would begin. From this small, curious boy who asked too many questions to a man ready to change the world, Thomas Edison's story had only just begun. At Menlo Park, Thomas Edison felt unstoppable. Surrounded by assistants and equipment, he called his laboratory the world's first invention factory. The expenses of running a laboratory, paying assistants, and buying materials drained his resources. Investors wanted quick results, but inventing was slow work. He often had to convince skeptical businessmen to keep supporting his ideas, promising that breakthroughs were just around the corner. Many doubted him, yet he kept going. Yet even as his name started to gain attention, his life was far from easy. Before Edison, others had tried to invent electric lights, but none were practical for daily use. With 3 children to care for, Edison balanced family life with the demands of his work. Sleepless nights and constant strain weakened him physically, but his determination never broke. Edison found that a carbonized bamboo filament could burn for over 1,200 hours inside his bulb. His persistence had paid off. In 1879, Edison publicly demonstrated the world's first practical, long-lasting electric light bulb. Crowds gathered to witness streets lit up at night for the first time in history. Newspapers that once mocked him now praised him as a genius. Sometimes he would sleep on his laboratory floor, working through the night, forgetting meals. His obsession with invention sometimes distanced him from friends and family. Bulbs either burned out too quickly or were too expensive. Lawsuits, debts, and business rivals threatened him constantly. His life was a constant battle between dreams and reality, success and failure. Edison believed he could create a long-lasting, affordable bulb. But success didn't come quickly. He and his team worked tirelessly, testing material after material to find the right filament, the tiny wire inside the bulb that would glow without burning out. Edison faced fierce competition from other inventors like Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse, who promoted alternating current, while Edison fought for his direct current systems. These conflicts became known as the War of Currents, draining Edison's finances and energy even further. Every success seemed to be followed by a failure, every step forward matched by setbacks. Failure after failure filled his notebooks. Some called him foolish. Newspapers mocked his endless experiments. His competitors believed he would quit. Every failure was just one step closer to success. One of Edison's first major struggles was financial. While he worked endlessly on his inventions, money often ran low. The greatest challenge of Edison's career came with his most famous invention, the electric light bulb. Legal battles over patents became constant. Others tried to copy his inventions or claim his ideas as their own. Fighting these battles drained his energy and resources. He also faced criticism from scientists who thought he lacked formal education. But Edison's mind worked differently. He learned by doing, not by reading theories in books. Edison tested over 1,000 different substances. His assistants watched as he tried bamboo, cotton thread, cardboard, and even human hair. But Edison saw things differently. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Meanwhile, his hearing continued to worsen. As a nearly deaf man, Edison communicated by writing notes or reading lips. Conversations were difficult, yet he refused to let his disability slow him down. In fact, silence in his laboratory helped him concentrate for long hours without distraction. Outside his laboratory, rival inventors and companies tried to outpace him. Personal hardships added to his professional struggles. His first wife, Mary, died young, leaving him heartbroken. The stress affected his health. Finally, after years of endless experimentation, a breakthrough came. But the battles weren't over. Building the infrastructure to power electric lights, wiring, power plants, and electrical grids was the next enormous task. Despite public success, Edison knew he was at constant risk of losing everything he had built. Yet, even during the darkest times, Edison pressed forward. His struggles became fuel for his determination. For him, every problem had a solution. While the world saw him as a rising star, Thomas Edison himself knew the truth. Invention was not a straight path, and the war was far from over. With his invention of the practical electric light bulb, Thomas Edison became a household name. But for Edison, invention was never about just one success. He wanted to build a better world. The years following his triumph with the light bulb marked the most intense, productive, and defining period of his life. In 1882, he opened the first commercial power station in New York City, providing electricity to homes, businesses, and streetlights. Watching an entire city light up under his system was one of Edison's proudest moments. Still, competition pressed hard against him. Nikola Tesla, once Edison's employee, now worked with George Westinghouse to promote alternating current as a better way to distribute electricity over long distances. Edison stubbornly defended his direct current system. This rivalry, dubbed the War of Currents, grew fierce. He became known as the Wizard of Menlo Park. People admired his dedication, his belief in hard work, and his never-give-up attitude. Wealth and recognition poured in. World leaders sought his advice. His inventions spread across the globe. His attempt to create a cost-effective method for mining iron ore failed. He invested millions, but the project was a disaster. His mining company went bankrupt. Many considered this his greatest failure. After lighting homes and streets, Edison focused on building power plants to supply electricity to cities. He worked on better batteries, cement, and even contributed to developing concrete houses. His vision expanded beyond electricity to reshaping how people lived. Ford, who admired Edison greatly, credited him as his inspiration. The two became close friends. Together, they worked on developing better car batteries, with Edison contributing to the rise of electric vehicles. His obsession with work often isolated him from family. His children saw him more as an inventor than as a father. Still, he worked each day, often being wheeled into his laboratory when he was too weak to walk. For him, invention was life itself. Eventually, he lost control of several companies he had created. Investors and partners grew impatient when profits didn't meet expectations. Edison's stubbornness sometimes hurt his own success. He had transformed the world with his light bulb, phonograph, and motion picture camera. His laboratories had created innovations that shaped industries. His second wife, Mina, tried to provide balance in his life, but Edison was consumed by his passion for invention. He campaigned against AC, claiming it was dangerous and unsafe. He even staged public demonstrations, showing animals being electrocuted with a sea power to sway public opinion. But the public saw the benefits of a sea power, and eventually, Tesla's system won the battle. Edison, though frustrated, accepted defeat quietly. His focus had always been on progress, not revenge. Edison, desperate to protect his invention and business, resorted to harsh tactics. He invented the phonograph, a machine that could record and play sound. People called it his most original invention. For the first time in human history, voices could be captured and replayed. The phonograph amazed the public and opened a new world of entertainment and communication. Despite losing the current war, Edison's laboratory stayed busy. But Edison didn't stop there. He turned his attention to motion pictures. In 1891, he introduced the kinetoscope, a device that allowed people to watch moving images through a peephole. Though simple by today's standards, this invention laid the foundation for the movie industry. These years marked the height of Edison's fame and influence. Yet behind the scenes, Edison still battled personal demons. As his empire grew, so did challenges. Competitors copied his inventions. Lawsuits consumed time and money. His businesses expanded, but managing them proved difficult. In the late 1890s, Edison faced another serious challenge. But Edison refused to surrender. He shifted his focus to improving everyday products. As he aged, Edison's body weakened, his hearing worsened, and his health declined. One of the final peaks of Edison's career was his partnership with Henry Ford, the automobile pioneer. In the final years of his life, Thomas Edison stood not just as an inventor, but as a symbol of perseverance. Yet, he saw himself simply as a worker in search of answers. At the climax of his life's journey, Edison understood that invention wasn't about perfect success. It was about constant progress. In the final chapter of Thomas Edison's life, the world he had helped build surrounded him. Cities glowed with electric lights. People listened to music on phonographs and watched films in theaters, all inventions tied to his vision. He held over 1,000 patents and had founded companies that would later become giants, like General Electric. But Edison himself cared little for fame. He said, "My main purpose in life is to make enough money to create ever more inventions." Scientists, businessmen, and students came to Menlo Park and later to his larger laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey, hoping to meet the famous inventor. He spoke humbly, often downplaying his achievements and focusing conversations on future possibilities. To him, success was simply a path to keep working. Though age and illness slowed his steps, Edison's mind remained sharp, constantly thinking, planning, and creating. Newspapers across the world printed tributes. Factories dimmed their lights for a moment of silence. His inventions laid the foundation for modern electrical systems, recorded sound, and motion pictures. The companies he founded thrived, advancing industries he had dreamed of building. People mourned not just the loss of an inventor, but of a man whose determination had lit up their lives. It was his mindset, the belief that persistence, hard work, and endless curiosity could overcome any obstacle. But the world outside, bright, loud, and full of life, continues to run on the power of his ideas. His famous quote, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," reminded people everywhere that success comes not from talent alone, but from relentless effort. He worked on improving storage batteries for electric vehicles, a project that consumed much of his final years. Though he never achieved the breakthroughs he dreamed of in this area, his research contributed to future technologies. His second wife, Mina, helped manage their estate and cared for him as his health worsened. His light bulbs, phonographs, and film equipment sit behind glass cases, reminding visitors of a time when one man's vision reshaped the modern world. It is a step forward. From the curious boy who questioned everything to the world-famous inventor who refused to stop working, Thomas Edison's life was a testament to the power of determination. His 6 children, some of whom followed him in the scientific and business fields, now saw him as not just a famous inventor, but as a father who had sacrificed much for his dreams. By the early 1900s, Edison had become a global icon. Even as technology advanced beyond his original inventions, Edison never stopped experimenting. Despite his deafness, Edison enjoyed meeting visitors. At home, he found more peace than earlier in life. In 1927, Edison was honored with the Congressional Gold Medal, one of America's highest awards. Ceremonies praised him as a man who had changed the world. Yet Edison smiled quietly through it all, uncomfortable with praise. His once busy laboratories now worked more slowly. Yet each day, Edison insisted on being brought to his workshop, where he tinkered with tools and discussed ideas with his assistants. Even in his 80s, he sought answers to new problems, always curious. He believed work, not recognition, defined a life. As the years passed, the man once known as the Wizard of Menlo Park grew frail. On October 18, 1931, Thomas Alva Edison passed away at the age of 84. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy was undeniable. After his death, his work continued to inspire millions. But Edison's greatest legacy was not his inventions alone. Today, Edison's laboratories at Menlo Park and West Orange are preserved as museums. More than just a historical figure, Edison's life story teaches a simple but powerful lesson. Failure is not the end. In the silence of his final laboratory, the tools remain still. Thomas Edison's story, filled with struggles, failures, successes, and lasting achievements, reminds us all that even in darkness, a single light can change everything.